tuned in.
You are now tuned into
The realest show on YouTube with your host, The Angryman.
So yeah, like I said, you know what's funny about, the whole thing of listening to certain music nowadays? I hate to have to be that guy. In fact, no, I don't. Y'all's music today sucks. I'm sorry. It sucks. And you know what? It's not even the fault of the youth. Because there are some people out here that are really talented. Like, oh my God. I probably talked about this before. Have you heard Wanye's sons? Wanye from Boys to Men. Have you heard his sons? Sweet Jesus. So it's not a matter of there not being talent. There's talent out here. The music industry just don't care about the talent anymore. They just don't care about it anymore. You feel what I'm saying? Now, some of y'all might be like, well, why don't they care about the talent anymore? Well, it's simple. The reason why they don't care about the talent anymore is because there's no need for it. There's no need for it. Back in the day, they needed to have talent because if the person singing wasn't talented, you weren't going to go out and buy the CD. If they were not talented, that CD would sit on that shelf and collect dust. And the record companies wouldn't make any money. Shout out to Focus. He said, is part of the problem the singers aren't brought up in the church anymore? No, there are plenty of singers out here that are extremely talented. There are plenty of singers out here that are extremely talented. The reason why I know is because I see them on TikTok all the time, singing their ass off. But see, the industry doesn't care about talent anymore. They don't, because how do most people consume music nowadays? They consume it through a streaming service. So guess what? If you can get millions of people to pay $15 a month for a streaming service, you don't got to put out talented artists. You can just put out music. Because the people that, like somebody like me, the reason why I have the streaming service is so I can listen to the older music. So even if you're putting new music up there, I don't give a shit about the new music. If it's good, I'll listen to it. If it's not, I'm not going to listen to it, but I'm still going to have the service. I'm still going to pay for the service. So every month, me, along with a bunch of other people, are paying for the service. So what's the need of scouting for talent? What's the need of that? There's no point. You feel what I'm saying? There's literally no point. And that is the sad reality. You feel what I'm saying? But there's, you know what I'm saying? There's plenty of talent, right? There's plenty of talent. Like here, like watch this.
All that I've got
That's before puberty.
I dedicate my love, my soul, my heart beats for you. Girl, I can't get enough, so I wait for your love. There's nothing that I'll ever do. Radio now. I'll give you everything. Ooh, baby, I'll give you more. You got to know it, baby. Everything you want is yours. Everything you need, baby, it's yours. It's yours. Oh, that you're ready or not.
They supposed to be on tour right now. They supposed to be at the award shows. They supposed to have a couple of albums out by now. They supposed to be, bruh. Like, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest, like, for real. Them dudes supposed to be like, bruh. Like, let's just be real. You feel me? Shout out to Ogun Network. And I don't know what I don't know what Wanye was doing. But he obviously packed every ounce of his talent into every shot of sperm. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it, for real. But I hate to be that guy. But it's cool because, you know, you got the younger folks. They love to say, oh, you old heads. So I'm going to just lean into it. I'm just going to lean all the way into it. Y'all's music sucks. I'm sorry. It just does. Y'all music sucks. It sucks, bruh. It's to the point now where I'm getting to the point where at the beginning of the show, I don't even want to play no new music. I just want to pull music from the 90s, the 80s, and the 70s. Anything that's in the early 2000s back, I'm willing to play that. But this new stuff, I'm sorry. It's trash. It's garbage. It's garbage. You feel me? Shout out to Uncle Jeff. He said talent is what it has always been to the game, something to be exploited by those in power from those who have it, for those who don't know any better or care any more or less. It's cheap among us. Yep, facts. That is facts. So, yeah, you know, the new music is crappy. It sucks. It does not give you the same feeling that you used to get. It's just not there. It's just not there. Shout out to Sean. He said, thanks for the stream. Shout out to James. He said, President Trump working at McDonald's was lit. Yeah, that was funny. Shout out to Tall. He said, what's up, BINO support? So, we got a lot. To talk about. Nothing too serious. I just want to have some fun with it. You feel me? I want to have some fun with it. Oh yeah, I heard, and I could be wrong, but I heard that I heard Charleston White got shot 3 times. Has anybody confirmed that? I heard Charleston White went to Chicago and got shot 3 times. Did anybody confirm that? Has anybody confirmed that? You said Anton confirmed it. Let me go check it out. Let's see. Okay, so Anton did an interview with him. So I guess he all right. Did he really get shot, y'all? Did he really get shot? Does anybody know? Does anybody know if he really got shot? He said I'm asking my daughter. She's a super searcher. Well, anyway, moving right along. So there's a somebody just shot me an email, said no, he didn't. Okay, so he didn't get shot. Okay, cool. That's cool. So there's a number of things that have occurred recently that I addressed earlier today, and I just felt the need to address them again, right? I just felt the need to address them again. But there's a couple of other things that happened that caught my attention, right? So here's the first thing that caught my attention as I was scrolling through social media. I came across this.
Wicked star Cynthia Erivo has slammed fans for photoshopping the movie's poster. The new image is an homage to the original Broadway poster with Glinda whispering into Elphaba's ear. However, the movie version is slightly different to the original, with one big change being that Elphaba's full face is visible. Fans of the musical have since made their own edits to the movie poster to match the Broadway one, but Erivo is calling it offensive. Posting to her Instagram story, the actress said, "This is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen. None of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us." She added, "The original poster is an illustration. I am a real-life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer. Our poster is an homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me, and that is just deeply hurtful."
So, apparently, this lady, I guess that stars in Wicked, they put out the movie poster, and of course, the movie poster was different than the original. So is this where they're showing her full face and, you know, I guess she got a different color lipstick or whatever, because the original poster looked more like this, right? And so she is outraged. And a lot of people are outraged. In fact, one person said this is why they were outraged.
It's not about the poster. And I know in all simplicity, we want for it to just be about a poster. Why are you mad? I want lipstick on the poster. I want it to be the same. It's not about the poster. It's about all the conversations leading up into the poster. It's about every single critique about this woman who is talented, who is worthy, who has earned this position. It's about everybody who wants her to be slightly different to justify her being in this space. And yes, there should be respect on the body of work, but we know that this is an adaptation of what was and a celebration of what it is. And there are new players literally in this game. And they come with their own talents, their own look, their own energy, and their own spirit. And it is not about the poster. I believe, this is completely my opinion, that the angst that came out in that tweet was based on the conversations leading up into the poster. The amount of times in which this woman, this talented woman, has had to justify her existence, her participation, the fact that she has gotten this role. And even the individuals who are willing for her to have the role want to change her in the role. You would be perfect if, fill in the blank. She's okay, but only if she did, fill in the blank. And to see her face altered, as if she is not enough, after she has danced and sang and shared her spirit and her talent with all of you, to say that your face in this particular poster, the way your look in this particular poster, isn't enough.
But I don't think that's what anybody is saying, though. I think people just want the poster to look the same as it did in the original. And it's not a coincidence that you just happen to look just like the woman that's playing in the role. Is it possible that this is vanity? Is it possible that she said, well, I know the poster has the eyes covered, but since I'm a black woman playing this role, I want you to show my face. I don't care if the original poster has the thing, because it's not like that's how your face is shown throughout the entire movie. It's just the poster. It's just the poster. But this is what I call being extra. And I'm going to tell you why it's being extra. Number one, you want to change the poster. You want to, and you don't want to have the red lipstick. You want to have dark green lipstick. And to me, I feel like this is pseudo bigotry baiting. In other words, it's let me do something different and just wait. I hope somebody has something to say about it so that I have a reason to be outraged. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm going to do something different than what was originally done so that somebody will have a problem with it. And in that way, I have a reason to be outraged. I have a reason to be upset.
Let me just fix you. I can see how that hurts. I can see that if caught off guard, if caught in a moment, a poster becomes something more than a poster. It becomes the definition and how people are defining you. And she had to say something. And she was done being silent. And she was done just taking everyone's criticism and altering of herself when she is enough exactly how she is. And yes, this is a deep interpretation, and I would love to think it is just a poster and why is she overreacting. But I think that it is a combination of all of the conversations and critiques that this woman has had to put up with, as talented as she is.
Well, guess what? And this is how I view it, you know, and everybody doesn't have to agree with me, but this is how I view it. Maybe you wouldn't have this problem if you weren't so desperate for white acceptance. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, all joking aside, I don't know about everybody else, but we're exhausted. We're exhausted. Is anybody else tired of black women just being outraged about every little thing? Is anyone else sick of it yet? Like it's just this never-ending parade of, well, I can't believe this. I can't. Here's an idea. Here's an idea. Why don't you stop trying out for roles that were originally white roles? Why don't you do that? Yeah, I know. Everybody's going to say, oh, that's politically incorrect. Is it? Is it? Because guess what? I know for a fact that if I get cast in a role of some character, that if I got cast in the role of Thor, I know people are going to have a problem with it. It's almost like, I'm going to play this role and they bet not have a problem with it. Like, okay. And then as soon as the person has a problem with it, you know, as soon as everybody has a problem with it, now it's time to play the victim. Oh my God, she's so talented. She shouldn't have to do this. She is enough. She is enough. Is she? Is she? Is she? Shout out to Seeker of Truth said she is if Petty had a face. And see, my whole thing is this. My whole thing is this, right? We now live in a day and age where you have black studios, you have black writers, you have black directors, you have black filmmakers. Instead of vying for or pining over or begging to play roles that have traditionally been white roles, why don't you use your creativity and create new black characters? Well, the problem is, Angryman, a lot of the traditionally white characters are the most popular characters. Yeah, and guess what? They're going to stay that way. You know why they're going to stay that way? Because they have longevity. Your characters never get the opportunity to have longevity because you refuse to create them. You refuse to create them. You refuse to create them. You refuse to invest in them. And I'm going to tell you the one thing that black people are really good at. The one thing that black folks are really good at is nitpicking. This is nitpicking. I don't care. This is some petty nitpicking right here. This is some petty nitpicking right here. Because if you think for 1 second that this lady right here did not think that people were going to be upset that the poster is different. Come on. Come on. Do you really think that she didn't know that people, first of all, you know that she knew white folk was going to be mad that she's playing the role. Like, let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you one thing I know for certain. Let me tell you one thing I know for certain. No one is ever going to accept something that is forced on them. Nobody. Nobody is ever going to accept anything that is forced on them. That is oppressive. That's oppressive. Like whether you want to admit it or not, it is. It's oppressive. Like for instance, I'll give you a prime example. If next year they decided to do a remake of Shaft, right? They're going to do a remake of Shaft. And instead of picking a brother like Richard Roundtree, or a Richard Roundtree looking brother, or even a Samuel L. Jackson looking brother, right? They're going to remake Shaft, and they pick a white actor to play Shaft. You Negroes would lose your minds. You would be heated. You would scream cultural appropriation, all of this. And you know what's funny to me? What's hilarious to me is, why isn't this cultural appropriation? Can anybody answer that for me? Why isn't this cultural appropriation? High Tolerance said for so long, B-dubs created their own market by pigeonholing themselves in these Chitlin Circuit Tyler Perry made for TV roles. They've made their bed. Facts. Facts. Because you know what? This is where the problem comes in, and Taraji P. Henson suffers from this too. Because y'all have made these stereotypical roles, right? Because I don't know who told y'all this. I don't know what acting coaches y'all have, but for some reason, the American B-dub thinks that acting is akin to having an attitude. So whenever they get on a movie or whatever, and I'm not talking about all of them, you have black actresses that can actually act, like Alfre Woodard, Viola Davis, Angela Bassett. There's a lot of black actresses that can act, but there's a lot that can't. And they think that the only thing they got to do in a role is just have an attitude. And the problem is, when you do that, you create a stereotype. And so then you can't create dynamic, unique characters. So what you have to do is you have to run to other run to already made characters that are traditionally non-black and play that role to be taken seriously. Now, here's the hilarious thing about this, and nobody's going to admit this, but I'll say it. Whenever they play a role that's traditionally a non-black role, oh, that's when they pull out the acting chops. That's when they take it seriously. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. If you go back and you look at Taraji P. Henson's performance in Benjamin Button, why didn't you break out those acting skills for Proud Mary? Why not show us a different take on a black female role? Why is it y'all think that every time y'all get in a role that's not pre-made, that's not already created, a role that you can actually make your own, why does every one of those roles have to be, no you didn't? Why it gotta be that? Why does it have to be the stereotypical, ghetto attitude having? Like, why can't y'all be dynamic? Like, seriously. Whether you know it or not, we actually want to see that. We actually want to see that, and God only knows that the community of young black girls need to see that. If we're being totally honest. If we're being totally honest, not only do we want to see that, but the young girls in the black community need to see that as well. KD said it's 17 more days before the election. Put that vote in. But this type of thing is in my humble opinion, it's ridiculous. It's more selective outrage. It's more let me be outraged so everyone can look at me. It's not enough to be playing the role and all of those different things. Shout out to Kendra, said paying tuition, appreciate you. It's ridiculous because only reason it caught my attention is because I kept seeing pictures of it. I kept seeing it over and over again. And I'm like, what is this about? Like, what is this about? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even gonna lie. The moment that I saw the poster, the first thing I thought. The first thing I thought. The first thing I thought is why is a sister playing that role? That's the first thing I thought. That's the first thing I thought. You feel me? It is what it is. Y'all can call me a coon, call me a sellout, call me whatever you want. I really don't care. But it is tiring. It is really tiring. But here's something else that I came across, and this ties into the topic of tonight's show, which is the celebrities for Kamala, right? Now, I want to show you how people are still like in denial about it, right? They're still in denial about it. But check out this video right here.
So I'm the type of person that doesn't like conflict, doesn't like confusion, doesn't like to debate, argue, none of that type of stuff. I just kind of sit things out because I don't like to be part of that type of energy. But I just couldn't sit back on this. I mean, I've been wrestling with this. First of all, I do not like to be part of politics. I don't like to even, insert myself in things. I just, I kind of do things, behind the scenes because I've said some things out loud concerning the election to others, and everybody's not on the same page. Everybody don't think the same. So that's when conflict come about. That's the part I don't want to be part of. So I kind of just, listen around. But I just couldn't hold this. As a Christian, I couldn't shut up. I couldn't keep my mouth closed. I couldn't, because I am a child of God. And I'm going to speak what I need to speak, because if the Holy Spirit tells me to speak, I'm going to speak on his behalf. And I couldn't shut my mouth anymore. I just can't do it. And it's just been eating at me. And then I don't care if I'm going to lose friends, family members. I don't care, because I live for God. I live for him. So as a Christian, when I seen that at one of Kamala Harris's rallies, that someone said out loud in her rally that Jesus Christ is Lord, and the response she gave, she told that person that he was in the wrong rally. Basically, she told that person that they don't worship no Jesus Christ over here. That is the wrong rally to go down the street. Now that right there, I can't even shut up on that. I really can't. I can't as a Christian. And the Bible says, God is saying, if you deny me before men, I will deny you before my Father in heaven. Okay? I can't keep my mouth shut on this as a Christian. I can't. I have to speak on it. We will be persecuted for his sake. We will, as Christians. So whatever's going to happen by me speaking up on this, let it be so, because I don't live for nobody here but the Lord Jesus Christ. And when that lady said that he was at the wrong rally, that right there let me know, hey, I got to speak on this. Because at first I was like back and forth debating with folks about, if you a Christian, you need to kind of listen in a little bit on some of these policies and the things that's going on and all this, just listen in. I'm researching, I'm listening, and all I hear is things that's contrary to the word of God as a Christian. With this political party, I'm not say demonic party, but the Democratic Party. I just can't roll with them. I've been a Democrat all my life because that's what I was told was the party I should be part of. I guess as a black woman, as whatever. I don't know. I've been brainwashed, obviously. Because the Democratic Party right now, I'm not with it. I'm not with it. I'm standing on the word of God. That's it. I'm standing on his word. And what they're doing is way completely contrary to the word of God. I don't care what they say about Trump, whatsoever. Okay. Yes. So yeah, he does things that, a lot of people don't like. He speaks out of, the way he speak is not always, what we want to hear. But one thing for sure is that he acknowledges Jesus Christ as Lord. So whatever he do, he acknowledges our Father. And so I'm just, you guys, I gotta calm down. All I know is after watching that, there's no way, no how am I voting for that way. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. You guys, if you're Christians, just pray on it. Ask the Spirit what you should be doing in this time, what is best. But I'm telling you, I'm done. I can't go that route. I am standing on the word of God.
So the interesting thing to me about this is how, at the very beginning, she's talking about this conflict that a lot of people are going to go through. A lot of people are going to go through because they have friends and family members that are still going to support Kamala no matter what. Right? Now, me personally, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I've never been the type of person that puts friendships, family, and relationships above what I believe in or above my integrity. You feel me? If I gotta compromise myself, in order to be friends with you, or in order to have a familial relationship with you, bye. Goodbye. Because my attitude is this. Look, if you want to support her, if you want to support Kamala and all her BS, that's your business. But if I come around you and see, a lot of people don't know how to set healthy boundaries, right? The way I look at it is, if you don't want to hear me preaching about Trump, then shut the hell up about Kamala. I don't want to hear about it. If that's what you plan on doing and that's how you plan on voting that way or whatever, okay, cool. Do that. We don't got to talk about politics. We don't got to talk about none of that shit. You feel what I'm saying? Because you're not going to make me follow a chick that is obviously on some other ish. Like, I don't got time for it. You feel me? Because, look, I can't... If you want to follow somebody that is anti-God, that is blatantly anti-God, and I heard she tried to run to some church because this right here has been going viral for the past couple of days. So I heard she tried to run to some church and get the church to co-sign her. And all I got to say is if they did co-sign her, they can go right with her to wherever she going. You feel what I'm saying? It don't make no look. I'm sorry. I saw what she said. And ain't no televangelist preacher, no Baptist preacher. I don't care if it's T.D. Jakes. I don't care if it's whoever. I don't care who co-sign her. I know what she about. Her biggest agenda, her main platform is the deletion of babies. I don't care. There's nobody that's going to tell me, see, the only way that you can be on some pro-choice stuff is if you're not a religious person. That's the only way. Those two things don't go together. They don't. I'm sorry. There's nothing that you could say to make me think that those two things go together. They don't go together. Now, if you're not a religious person and you don't follow any type of religion and you just live your life the way you live it, okay, cool, do that. Do that. Go do that. Cool. Go do that. Right? But as for me and mine, this is too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. And I don't have any patience for it. You know, I personally don't think that that people should be having this debate. I don't even think people should be sitting back on some, well, gee, I don't know what I should do, and well, maybe I shouldn't, and well, I don't know. Like, I could care less. I heard what she said. But see, the funny thing about it is, I'm looking at all of these black folk and how they're wrestling with this decision. Why is it such a difficult decision for you? That's the part I don't get. Shout out to W. I don't get why this is such a difficult decision. I don't understand why this is so difficult or why this is so hard. I don't. It's really confusing to me. Let's check out what this lady had to say.
I really do not like to get into politics at all, but Kamala Harris is pissing me off. Why did she say to that lady that was screaming in the crowd, Jesus is Lord, that she must be at the wrong rally and that she should have been to the smaller one down the street? What? Like, are you...
And this is a prime example of black people. It wasn't a lady, it was a guy. This is a prime example of what black people do. They just be loud and partially wrong. It wasn't a lady. As far as I know, it sounded like it was a dude.
Are you serious right now? I've been seeing on this app how evil people say that she is, and I really believe that she is. And not even only because I have been seeing it, but because I prayed about it. And I still have not gotten an answer on who to vote for, honestly, because they're terrible. Both candidates are terrible. Terrible. Whoever wins.
Now, here's the stupid shit. Right? Here's the dumb shit. And I've been saying this over and over again. It is one of the things that annoys the shit out of me. This annoys the crap out of me. If the Democratic candidate is someone that they like, yeah, Democrat. If the Democrat candidate does something they don't like, well, I don't know who to vote for because they both just horrible. You know, this is the same rhetoric from 2016. This is the same rhetoric from 2016. In 2016, you know what everybody was saying? Because I remember black folk saying this. Well, both of the candidates suck, so I'm just not going to vote. Both of them are horrible. The only problem with that rhetoric this time around is we saw Donald Trump be president. We saw it. We saw it. We saw it. And guess what? Guess what? And black folk, you're going to have to eat this. You're going to have to own this. Donald Trump was president once before. Guess what he didn't do? He didn't put people back in slavery. He didn't become a dictator. In fact, under him, we wasn't even in an active war. Now, considering how many people hated him during his entire tenure as president, I would say he exercised a whole lot of restraint. In my personal opinion, I would say he exercised a whole lot of restraint. Give me one example of when he abused his power as president for something petty. Did he use his power to censor people? No. Did he use his power to go after the press? No. Now, he called them names. He told them they was goofy. He told them they was stupid. He put out mean tweets. Yeah, he did all of that. He did all of that. But where did he use his power as the president to screw people over? Where did he do it? Where did he do it? I don't recall him doing it. Shout out to KD for being a sponsor. Appreciate you, fam.
Here we go again. $100 boss up. Going down. Stack up and match up.
I don't recall him doing it. Not one time. Shout out to Gary. He said Dems have talked about a Bible ban in Congress. Of course they have. Of course they have. But here's the even more interesting thing, right? Kamala Harris sat up there on Fox News with that interview with Brett Baer. And this is what she said. But Trump has talked about the enemy within. He's talked about using the military against the American people. Do y'all realize that the DOJ just put out a directive authorizing the military to use deadly force on the American public if necessary? Remind me again who's in office? All you spiracy nut jobs that love to proclaim that Trump is the dictator. Trump is the one that's going to do this. Trump is the one. Why are y'all quiet right now? Shout out to High Tolerance, said 2 weeks ago she was sipping High Life, and today she was in the pulpit. Donald J hasn't went this extreme. I'm confused, but not confused. So somebody answer that question for me. All of the people that run around here that's so terrified of Donald Trump abusing his power or having too much executive reach or doing this or doing that, why are they so quiet right now? Patrick said Jonah Hill playing Bishop from Juice would have an uproar. Why are they so quiet right now, y'all? Why all these people, all of these folks that every single time Trump does the least little thing, why are they so quiet? Why are they so quiet? Do you notice that? Are you paying attention? Are we paying attention? Are we paying attention? Yes or no? Are we paying attention? So, another thing that's been going on is you got this goofiness going on in our society today, perpetuated by the left, right? Shout out to the lowly one, said it was 44 who insulted God's rainbow covenant and put the L. Gibbet colors on the White House. So I brought this up before. And when it first started happening, it really bothered me. Do you notice that in this day and age, there's an agenda of renaming everything? Do y'all notice this? How many of you notice this? How many of you guys notice that there's this agenda of renaming things? So the things that we traditionally know to be this name, we now got to call it this name. Like a prime example is at one point, people entering this country illegally were referred to as illegal aliens or illegal immigrants. Now we have to say undocumented migrants. Instead of saying that people are starving, we have to say people have food insecurities. See, as subtle as those little things are, those things, in my opinion, are evil. And the reason why I say it's evil is because the changing of names is to try to lessen the impact of it, or to try to deceive people into viewing it in a different way, or viewing it in a way that is more conducive to the acceptance of it. Right? So for those of you that don't know, Confucius had a quote. Let me see if I can find the quote. Confucius said, "The beginning of wisdom is to call things by their proper name." Why did Confucius say this? Confucius believed that social disorder is often caused by not calling things by their proper names. He believed that when language is not in line with reality, affairs cannot be successful. He also believed that when names are not correct, people do not know how to act. Confucius' solution to this was the rectification of names. This means that people should behave in accordance with their social standing and responsibilities. For example, a king should be a king, a father should be a father, and a son should be a son. In ancient Confucian parlance, names referred to the social functions that an individual could have in society. This idea was called Ming Jiao, which means the doctrine of names. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to it or not. But within American culture, the left, not the right, the left is constantly renaming everything. This is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. And I'm going to tell you what they do as well, because this is what makes it problematic, right? When you're on social media, we are slowly having our freedom of speech taken away from us. And it's being done in a very subtle and sinister way. It's like if you're on a platform, you don't want to get penalized, so you'll say delete instead of the other word. Or you'll say this instead of that. You'll say this instead of that. And I don't know if you noticed this or not. Any of you guys that go on panels or whatever, you know what you'll find yourself doing? You'll find yourself talking like that when you're not even on YouTube. When you're not even on social media. You'll catch yourself talking like that in your average everyday life. That is how intrusive. That is how intrusive and pervasive that sort of censorship is. And make no mistake about it, it's on purpose. It's not something that is, done by accident. It's on purpose. It's on purpose. Now, here's the question you got to ask yourself. The language that we use on social media, that is censored and filtered and all of the other things you do to clean it up or whatever, right? Why is it for the longest time us hearing those words wasn't problematic when it was on television, it was in movies, it was in music, it was in pretty much everything. It was pretty much in everything. Like I'll give you another example. I'll give you a prime example, right? A prime example is, why is it right now as we speak, if you go to Twitter or X, right? Two things are allowed on X. Fight videos are allowed on X, and nudity is allowed on X. But you still got to watch what you say. Nudity and fight videos are allowed on X, but you got to watch what you say. And you know what I'm finding out? You know what? You know the conclusion that I'm coming to? The conclusion that I'm coming to is, if you say something on social media and it's problematic, it probably means it's true. Because why else would it be problematic? Like I said, sex and violence are accepted, but not free speech. We are definitely in the twilight zone. No, we're not in the twilight zone. What we are in is danger. That's what we're in. That's what we're in. We're look, matter of fact, let me pull this up real quick. Let me go to my little research thing real quick, because I don't have it right in front of me, right? I don't know how many of you guys read 1984. How many of you guys read 1984 by Orwell? Right? In 1984, Orwell came up with a concept called doublethink. Doublethink is a key concept in George Orwell's novel 1984 that refers to the ability to simultaneously hold two contradictory beliefs in one's mind and accept both of them as true. Here are the main aspects of doublethink in the novel: accepting conflicting beliefs as true even when they contradict their own memories or sense of reality. See, that's part of the double talk, right? Where you're changing the names of things and rearranging the definitions of stuff. This is to acclimate you to the concept of doublethink, right? Consciously suppress one's own knowledge and memories when they conflict with party doctrine. Switch between contradictory beliefs depending on what suits the party at any given moment, right? Now in 1984, there were certain crimes that you couldn't commit. So in 1984, one of the biggest one of the things that would get you in the most trouble was called a thought crime. Was called a thought crime. Thought crime was considered the most serious offense in Oceana, which is the place in 1984. It involved harboring thoughts or beliefs that went against party doctrine, thinking negatively about Big Brother or the party, having an unorthodox or independent thoughts, right? So we're starting to see this play out. Right? How are we seeing this play out? So, an example is the Venezuelan gangs in Colorado, right? So, when people started reporting that they were taking over apartment complexes, the media came out and said that it was misinformation. The word misinformation is beginning to replace the word lie. See, we know what a lie is. A lie is when you tell something that isn't true. But what is misinformation? See, if you really sit back and think about it, misinformation doesn't necessarily have to be a lie. Misinformation can just be inconvenient information. Something that at the time is not conducive to other things. You feel me? But because of the context in which the word misinformation is being used, you're associating it with a lie. This is the fork-tongued language of the devil. I don't care what nobody say. So if I want people to think that you're lying without actually calling you a liar, because I know you're not lying, I can just say, oh, you're spreading misinformation. That term misinformation, it sounds like it would come straight out of 1984. Which is extremely scary. And then you got Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris getting on these platforms saying that, oh, the problem is there are too many people that can get on media platforms and speak to millions of people. That has to be checked. That has to be regulated, is what Kamala said. Hillary Clinton flat out said that if we don't control that, we'll lose control. Like, that is straight out of 1984. That is frightening. That is frightening, to say the very least. To say the very least. Now, of course, the book 1984, it has some instances in that book that are eerily familiar to some of the things going on today. Yeah, George Orwell, very intelligent guy. Very intelligent guy. Shout out to Gone Postal. Appreciate you. I don't know. It's like we're watching. The crazy thing about it is, what I can't figure out. What I can't figure out. What's confusing me is we have watched movies for most of our lives that warn us about all of this stuff, and yet we still walk right into it. Now, I have a theory about this. The movies that really reveal that sort of Orwellian 1984 type thing, all of the movies that came out that warn us, or that are movies that seem to be foreshadowing what we're seeing right now. You know, when most of those movies were put out, most of those movies were put out in the Gen X era. And I'm starting to feel this is why they skipped over Gen X. I'm starting to feel that the boomers are purposely trying to remain in positions of power as long as they can, so that by the time it's time for them to pass the mantle, they can skip completely over Gen X and give it to millennials or Gen Z. Because let's be honest, everything that we're talking about right now, Gen Z doesn't see it. They can't see it. They can't see it. Because if you go back and you read 1984, you know what type of system that was in 1984, right? Y'all know what type of system that was in 1984, correct? It was all of that. Marxist, socialist, communist, all of that falls under the same umbrella. Socialism, communism, radicalism, all of that is under Marxism. All of that is under Marxism. See, here's the thing. Every movie that we watched growing up warned us about that, which is why Gen X is so anti-system. You feel what I'm saying? Because we know the dangers of the system having too much power. Because we grew up watching all of these movies. We grew up with all of this lore that basically warned of all of this. You feel what I'm saying? You got Judge Dredd, you got Demolition Man, you got Mad Max, you got V for Vendetta, you got all of these countless. You got 1984, that was a movie too. You got all of these countless movies. You got Equilibrium. There's so many movies that warn us of this, right? But here's the problem with the newest generation. The idea of that doesn't scare them if that idea is normalized. Or worse, if what we currently have is vilified and demonized, and that idea is perpetuated as some sort of utopia or some sort of better way of life or some sort of better existence, right? Because guess what? And most people don't know this, right? Do you know what the number one piece of literature is in every single college? The most read piece of literature in every single college. Do y'all know what it is? JM said the Bible. Nope. Nope. Tootie Bug said the Bible. Nope. Shakespeare? Nope. It ain't Shakespeare. It ain't the Bible. It ain't Dostoevsky. It ain't 1984. It ain't Animal Farm. It ain't the Constitution. It ain't the dictionary. It ain't Karl Marx. It ain't Darwin. Shout out to sis Serena. Thank you, Nas. The Communist Manifesto. The Communist Manifesto is the most read, the most circulated, the most assigned piece of literature in every single college in America. And just to show you how pervasive that line of logic is, you got niggas in the hood that ain't even never been to college, that hate communism, that hate capitalism and want to change the system into socialism. You got brothers in the hood that be like, they'll talk down on capitalism, and you'll say, well, what do you think a better system is? And they don't have a word for it, but they'll start describing it, and what they describe sounds like socialism or communism. But the only reason they feel that way is because they've never lived in a communist state. But people who come here from other countries that are communists, when they get here, they tend to vote conservatively. And the reason why is because they've lived under a communist system. They can spot communism a mile away. And so when they hear Democrats saying things that sound very communist, it turns them off. They don't want to vote for them. But see, Americans who've never lived under communism, they think that that's a better way of life. Shout out to KD. They think that's a better way of life. Quite frankly, because most Americans are spoiled. And you know how most Americans get lured into the idea of socialism? You want to know the main reason? Press 1 if you want to know the main reason that Black Americans specifically get lured in to socialism, communism, Marxism. You want to know the main reason why? Because they're lazy. Because they're lazy. Because Marxism, socialism, communism proposes some sort of society where everyone is given an equal amount of everything. So everybody gets a house, everybody gets a certain amount of money, that's where that whole idea of universal basic income comes from. But because these Negroes, they never really attended a university of higher learning, or they never really went to, if they did get to attend a college, they've only gotten to attend a college after it's been filled with all of this BS that glorifies communism. The reason why they are so easily tricked into it, right? The reason why they're so easily tricked into it is because they don't understand that it is competition that improves any culture, any society. The moment you decide that everybody's going to have the same, there's no need for competition. Thus, there won't be any improvement. And plus, it proposes that you can rely on those at the top to properly allocate everything. The only problem is when you have those at the top, the temptation of corruption is too great. Because if you're at the top, like let's say for argument's sake that we had a communist state, and let's say that everybody needed an apple a day in order to survive, right? So let's say that I have enough apples to give everybody 1 apple a day, right? But I'm the one that gets to allocate everything to everybody. So I might want to have more apples than everybody. So what I'll do is I'll tell the people that there's a shortage of apples. And so everybody has to get a ration, a quarter of an apple. So I take an apple and split it into 4, and I can give that 1 apple to 4 people. So everybody thinks that they can only get a quarter of an apple. So everybody has a quarter of an apple every single day, and it's not enough to be proper sustenance. It's just enough for you to survive. Meanwhile, I got a whole surplus of apples because I'm keeping them to myself. That's what happens in communism. And people don't understand it. It's not complicated. If you have like for instance, you look at America, right? You look at the way America is. The way America is, people love to say, well, it's not fair because some have and some don't, and this, that, and the third, or whatever, right? And so everybody's always, the ones that are at the bottom are always complaining about being at the bottom, right? As if it's not possible for them to get to the top. See, the problem, and this is what people don't understand, if you live in a communist socialist state, when you're born, whatever you have is what you're going to have. There's no rising to the top. There's none of that. There's absolutely none of that. The only system that you live in where you can do that is capitalism. That is the only system that you live in where you can do any of that. Shout out to the wedding supper. Appreciate you. So in communist socialist states, those who are in positions of power to allocate everything to everybody tend to live extremely well, and the citizens tend to live extremely bad. It's been proven over and over and over and over and over and over again. You even have recent examples that you can go look at. It shows it. But because these goofy students in these colleges, right, are being taught that capitalism is evil and that socialism, Marxism is better than capitalism, they don't know any better. And they keep getting fed this idea that, oh, well, in America, you have people that are successful and you have people that aren't successful due to systemic conditions. So it's some people that don't have because of slavery from back in the day, you know, generational wealth issue, or it's people that don't have this because of discrimination, because of racial discrimination, because of institutional racism, all of these foolish things, right? That if you actually took the time to do your research and understand how America is structured, how capitalism benefits you, you would understand that all of that other stuff, all of those isms are irrelevant. Why are they irrelevant? How many of you guys guess how many people in this country are new millionaires? Just take a guess. Guess how many people in this country are new millionaires? Do y'all realize that 70% of millionaires are new millionaires? 70% of millionaires are new millionaires. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if almost 4/4 of the millionaires in your society are new, that means there's plenty of opportunity. That means there is plenty of opportunity. But the problem is you have individuals that don't want to put in the work They look for every excuse not to put in the work, and they want everything handed to them. Now, prior to if we're talking about the black community, prior to the 60s, black people didn't operate like that. Prior to the 60s, black people knew that whatever they got, they would have to work for. In fact, everybody knew. Everybody in America knew that whatever you got, you would have to work for it. It isn't until you see Lyndon Baines Johnson implement the welfare system, or a new version of the welfare system, that all of a sudden you start to see this sort of mentality, this attitude this attitude of entitlement, this attitude of I shouldn't have to work for anything, everything should be given to me. And see, that concept, the welfare mind state, is literally the gateway into acclimating people into the idea of socialism and communism. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna drop a bombshell on you guys, and I've talked about this before, and you probably didn't pay that much attention to it, but I'm gonna bring it up again. Most of your black civil rights leaders were communists. Did you know that? And see, here's the funny thing. When you talk about the FBI spying on the Black Panthers, Martin Luther King Jr., right? Y'all think they was spying on them because they were black. Oh, they're trying to stop the black movement. They're trying to stop black people from doing this and doing that. First of all, here's the reality. Black people saw more prosperity before the 60s than they ever did after the 60s. If you go back and you look historically at where black people were during Reconstruction, coming out of slavery, to where black people got to by the 50s, black people were excelling in every category. Every category. Marriage, literacy, finance, every category we had climbed from where we were at. You went from black people, by and large, being illiterate during Reconstruction. In other words, you had a high percentage of black people that were illiterate coming out of slavery. By the time you get to the 40s, the vast majority of black people were literate. I went over this in a previous show. See, a lot of people are like, oh, a lot of people think that the pinnacle of black American existence was the civil rights era. Oh, we got so much accomplished, and yo, we haven't moved the... See, people are looking at it wrong. Ice Cube got up there on Fox Soul and every other media outlet talking about the contract with Black America and said that we haven't moved the needle since the civil rights era. You know why you haven't moved the needle since the civil rights era? Because the entire purpose of the civil rights movement was to stop your freaking progress. It wasn't to help your progress. It wasn't to help your progress. Why do you think Dr. King's last statements in his last days were, I fear as though I've led my people into a burning building? Why do you think he said that? Why do you think he said that? See, the problem with us is we don't read and we don't do research. We don't look into things. We accept symbolism over substance. And like I've said before, historically, there are certain things that have been told to us in a slanted way because we're always blinded by the concept of racism. We're always blinded by the fight for racial equality. If you want to get a black man off of his game, I don't care how logical he is. All you have to do is bring up racism. If you had a black person standing in front of a blackboard with a mathematical equation up there, he could be the smartest black person you know. And he can do that mathematical equation with no problem. All you have to do is insert race. Insert an aspect of racism in that mathematical equation, and he'll get it wrong 10 times out of 10. Because the racism piece is the part that gets you off track. It's the part that blinds you. Because once it happens, once you see the racism part of it, you get so focused on that, you forget about everything else. It happened yesterday when I was on Izzy's channel. When they started talking about the statue of Robert Lee. This is where you'll all of a sudden hear logical, very intelligent black men start tripping. Which is why every chance I get, I challenge it. I challenge it. And see, people think I'm being a coon when I'm doing that. I'm not being a coon or a sellout when I'm doing that. I'm trying to get you to look past the racism. And until you look past the racism, you're never going to be able. The racism keeps you in a state of purgatory. Not racism being forced on you by other groups, but by the way you react to the concept of racism is what keeps you in a purgatory. This is why, if you notice, the more educated a black man is, or black person is, well, black men, the more educated a black man is, the higher level of success a black man is. If you notice, they tend to stop talking about racism. They know it exists, but it's not a central theme in their existence. It's not a central theme in their life. Now, by that same token, when you look at black people, when you look at black people, and the reason why I say when you see a black man reach a certain level of education, it you know, racism doesn't play a huge role in his thought process. The reason why I put that specifically on men is because our women still have an issue with, they still have an issue that they haven't gotten over, right? So the concept of racism and all of those different things, it plays a huge role with them. You feel me? That's why whenever you see a Candace Owen or any women that operate like that, they tend to be rare, right? They tend to be rare. But when you look at the least educated of us, and when I say education, I don't mean people that didn't go to college. I mean people who do not pursue educating themselves. The lower class that choose not to read books or choose not to do research, or they just pretty much operate off of what they already know and what's been taught to them through social experiences and all of that. When you look at black people at that level that tend to be less educated, what you'll notice about them is race rules everything in their life. This is the individual that will crash out over the least little issue if it involves race. And it is that group of people that are easily manipulated by the likes of a Lyndon Baines Johnson, the likes of a Alice Walker, the likes of a Angela Davis, the likes of a Gloria Steinem, the likes of a Alex Haley. You feel what I'm saying? Any of us that are at the lower level that are less educated, we are much more easily controlled through the premise of racism. And it's sad to watch. It's sad to watch. Now, just because you're educated and you're in the know and you're initiated, it doesn't mean you don't see racism. It doesn't mean that you don't recognize racism. But you tend to focus on the quality of the racism as opposed to the quantity of it. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Now, here's the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that, and this is what black people haven't realized yet, right? Some of the people that benefit the most from your racial sensitivity look just like you. Most of the people that exploit your racial sensitivity for profit and gain look just like you. Not really, Kelsey. It's not about picking your battles as much as it is about you having enough discernment to know what's a battle and what isn't. Like, for instance, if you're driving down the road and a non-black guy, whatever color, could be a white guy, rides by in a pickup truck and let's say you were in front of him and the light turned green and you didn't pull off right away because you were looking down, and he blows the horn or whatever, and then you finally look up and see that the light is green and you pull off, and then he pulls up next to you. You say, "You stupid nigga." That's not, it's racism. It's bigotry. But is that something that warrants you chasing him down and cutting him off and hopping out and getting into a full-on fist fight? Is it worth all of that? Is it worth all of that to entertain someone that ignorant and that bigoted? Is it worth all of that? No, it's not. It's not. Is it wrong what he did? Yeah, it's very wrong. It's very wrong. But is it worth your time? Is it worth your time? As opposed to a candidate that's not really black, that's pretending to be black in order to get your vote. See, that's worth your time. That's worth your time. Because that is extremely problematic. That has implications that can affect your tribe as a whole. You feel me? That's where you're supposed to call out the racism. You're supposed to call it out when it has real power. When it has the ability to affect the way you live your everyday life, and not on an individual level, but on a systematic level, a systemic level. That's what needs focus. You feel what I'm saying? That's what needs focus. But it needs focus in the proper arena. You feel what I'm saying? In the proper arena. And the proper arena is not standing outside City Hall with a bunch of signs yelling and screaming about it. You feel me? It's about getting into the positions that you need to be in so that you can affect change within the whatever that system is. You feel what I'm saying? Whatever that systemic system is. You understand? Shout out to Daywalker. He said, "Keep cooking, AM. You're on fire with this message, and I'm hungry, brother. No doubt. Appreciate you."
$50 boss up. Hey! Stack up and match up.
But that's how we've been easily manipulated into this idea of you're literally having your opportunity and your ability to improve stolen from you through ideological teachings and socialization. And I don't care what anybody says. I feel like, and this is probably the reason why back in the day I had a problem with the welfare system, because it basically it trains you and acclimates you into being able to accept the idea of socialism more readily. You feel what I'm saying? Like right now, if you look at most black folk, the way we operate and the way we think nowadays, especially with us constantly screaming about reparations, which whether you like it or not, it even if you feel that it's owed to you, it's still someone else giving you something instead of you taking it, right? So if you're in that position where you're so willingly accepting of someone giving you something as opposed to you taking it or earning it, right? And before anybody say, but we did earn it, no, your forebearers earned it, but they're not here anymore. Okay, they're not here anymore. And I'm sorry, like, people can get upset with me about this if you want to, but if there's somebody living in the projects right now that refuses to work, that's living on welfare or whatever, you're going to be hard pressed to make a case that you earned the money that your forebearers worked for. I mean, worked like a dog for. I'm sorry, I just don't like, even if we sit back and we make the argument that it's deserved because of generational wealth and the possibility that that money could have benefited your family and been passed down generation to generation, even if we look at it from that aspect, the problem is the mind state that it creates. That's the problem. And as one rabbi said in an interview that I was watching a couple of years back, he said that no group will ever be able to achieve prosperity if it's dependent on another group to give it prosperity, to give them prosperity. So if you're dependent upon, if you're a tribe and you're dependent on another tribe to give you prosperity, you'll never have it. The only way you'll ever get prosperity is for you to take it. This is what Brother Malcolm was talking about back in the day when he said that, you know, a man doesn't beg for his freedom, he takes his freedom. You feel what I'm saying? But, you know, we've been acclimated into this idea of begging for things, and that's basically what socialism and communism is. Karl Marx was an individual that was really interesting, because even though he had all of these ideas that ended up becoming Marxism, everything that he did was funded by capitalism. The thing about communism is it's always funded by capitalism. Even right now, if America was to become a communist state, it would only be possible because of all of the years of capitalism. You go look at the history of Venezuela. The reason why they were able to transition into communism is because of the prosperity that they enjoyed previous to that from capitalism. And what you'll see is, okay, they want to create a communist system in Venezuela, but prior to that they had a capitalist system. And that capitalist system and the money and the prosperity that it generated gave them the ability to transition into a communist system. But the moment they transition into a communist system, this is when you start to see the decline. Because communism, socialism, Marxism is always funded by capitalism. Karl Marx used the money from his family that was generated through capitalism to fund his ideas and all of his BS. And when they finally went broke from him utilizing his family, he then utilized his friends' money that came from capitalism. So most people that understand, most economists, that understand the concept of capitalism versus communism, they understand that communism is always doomed to fail. And the thing about it is it is always painted as a pretty picture. It's always painted as the path to a utopia. You feel what I'm saying? But guess what? Whenever they speak of socialism, communism, it doesn't matter who's speaking of it. They always speak of it as if, okay, capitalism is evil. If we get rid of that and we get this socialist, communist, Marxist type system, then we'll have a utopia. Then we'll have paradise on earth. You feel me? And where I come from in the hood, they call that selling a nigga a dream. And that's all communism is. It's a dream being sold to you. You feel me? And don't get it twisted. A lot of people believe in it genuinely. There are people that believe in it genuinely and have the best intentions. But like my grandmother used to say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And that's something that modern day Americans just don't understand. They don't understand what communism is. They only get the rosy picture of it, right? That's all they get. In fact, if you go back in the day, about 60 some odd years, right? Do you know what the slogan for communism was? Do you know what the slogan for communism was? Press 1 if you want to know. Christopher said peace for all. That's one of them. That's one of them. That's one of them. About 60 some years ago, the slogan for communism was peace, jobs, and democracy. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? This idealistic concept of a utopia. But if we've learned anything from the mouse experiment, a utopia is impossible. Whether you like capitalism or not, with capitalism, you take the good with the bad. But the balance that is created through capitalism, including the good and the bad, far outweighs any perceived benefit that you would get from communism. So the chicken in every pot. Yep. Yep. Yo, shout out to Devon. Appreciate you. Shout out to Gary. He said communism is written in black people DNA. It is at this point. It is at this point because most of your heroes were communists. Shout out to Found Link. He said 1930s and 1940s Germany was socialist. Yep. Most certainly was. Shout out to Andre. He said this generation wants handouts no one want to earn. That's facts. Back in the day, Germany was definitely socialist. Now, here's the irony. The irony is peace, jobs, and democracy, right? But let me ask you this. When have you ever seen a peaceful communist state? When have you ever seen that? You realize that most communist states are always in some sort of conflict? And see, here's the worst part. Here's the worst part. This is where it gets worse, right? What do they typically do when, because look, whenever you look at a communist state, right, it inevitably is going to get to a place where there isn't enough to go around. That's going to happen inevitably. So once there isn't enough to go around, what do you think they start doing? Said hoarding reserves, then only one child households become law. No, it gets to the point where you have too many mouths to feed. And in that situation, I'm not going to say it. Y'all know what it is. use your brain, put it together. I'm not going I'm not gonna say what it is, but you know, it is what it is. So you have all of these celebrities caping for Kamala, right? Let me tell you something. There's one picture that speaks volumes. This photo right here. Y'all see that? That photo right there tells you everything you need to know about Negroes that support Kamala. That photo right there says it all. It almost looks like he's saying, ain't nobody in here but us chickens. I mean, I could caption so many phrases just from this photo. Just from this photo right here. You could say, nobody in here but us chickens. You could say, ooh, lordy, lordy, lord, I sure hopes Miss Kamala becomes president. That right there, my friends, is the definition of a coon. Right there. That's what one looks like. That is what a coon looks like. That's what a sellout looks like. That is a brother waiting on his butter biscuits. That's what that looks like. The only thing he didn't do up there on that stage was tap dance. And I'm telling you right now, I'm at the point where I don't trust anybody that is actively in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. I'm side-eyeing all of you. I'm side-eyeing all of you. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I'm side-eyeing all of you. Look at him. Just look at him. That looks like something out of a 1920s minstrel show. Tell me I'm lying. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't support it. I can't respect it. I can't. I can't. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. I'm exhausted from this year because this year has revealed so much. This year has revealed so much. Things will never be the same. They'll never be the same. This year has revealed more than I really wanted to know. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. But for everybody in here, it would behoove you to do your research on Karl Marx, socialism, and communism. There are plenty of professors. There are plenty of, oh yeah, By the way, and most people, this is something that most people don't really know, right? Somebody in the chat room said that in the 1930s and 40s, Germany was a socialist state, right? Somebody said that, right? Let me ask you a question. When the Germans, when they lost World War II, do you think they all were captured? Or do you think a lot of them escaped? Ebo Sosa said many came here to the U.S. Yeah, they did. Guess what? A lot of them did. And if you think I'm lying, you can go do your research. Guess what? A lot of them did. There it is right there. Got involved in education. Colleges. Became educators. But anyway, I'm about to get up out of here, man. I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. Appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. If you have not went to Amazon to check out my book, head on over to Amazon. Type in The Angryman Standard in the search bar and it will come up. Or you can hit the link down in the description. If you would like to check out the merchandise, all you have to do is go to shopBinoNation.com. Again, that is shopBinoNation.com. But other than that, I appreciate you guys. I will be back at you tomorrow. So be on the lookout for me. Salute to everybody that came through. Salute to all the sponsors of the show. I appreciate every last one of you guys that hit the like button. Y'all already know what it is. Salute to the whole BINO Nation. I'ma holler at you guys later. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?